before I move on, let's name these variables, because I will want to use those variable names down below. So fast way to name these is just go up to formulas, and since the values are directly next to the names of those cells, you can just choose define name, and this dialog box will appear recommending the name that you already have here in the cell. And you'll notice I had a space here between annual and interest, but when it defines the name, it puts an underscore there because the name manager will not allow spaces in between the words of a name. So I hit OK, go to the next one, define name, hit OK, next one, define name, hit OK, next one, define name, OK, next one, define name, OK. So I've got them all named. So at the end of period 10, the ending balance should be this future value. Okay. I guess I didn't name the annuity type. Let's go up here and define name. I want this to be annuity type. Okay, so anyway, I've got my future value. Now my payment is pretty much straightforward. Payment is the $62,000. And the interest, this interest will be based on the beginning balance times the interest rate. Now since there is no beginning balance yet, we have no interest for this period. But effectively what we're saying is if we started with this ending balance and deducted this payment, deducted this interest, we would get to this beginning balance. So we're going to have to compute what the beginning balance is based on the data that we already have. So if you think about this beginning balance, what's going to happen is if we had this number and we added to it this payment and we multiplied this beginning balance times interest and added that to it, we would get to the $1 million. So what we need to do is come up with a formula that does exactly the opposite. This is the formula that I've come up with, and I'm going to put it right here so you can see it, and hopefully you can see the logic here. What I'm saying is if you take C25, which is the ending balance, and you add this payment, which is a negative, in other words, we're deducting it, that would give me an amount that does not, that would give me the ending balance without the payment. So that would give you the ending balance, which does include interest for this period. So if we took that amount, which is ending balance less the payment that was made just before the end of the year, and divided it by 1, that would give me $937,254. Okay, so all that's done is taken this million and deducted 62,000. But we need to then say, wait, what about the interest rate? Okay, now the interest rate, if I added that interest rate to the denominator, right? So this is going to be like 1.1. So if I take the ending balance less the payment and divide it by 1.1, that would give me my beginning balance, which if we were to multiply by 1.1, we would get the beginning balance plus the interest. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If you've taken the Accounting 232A class, it should make a lot of sense, but that's kind of the math that I'm doing there. With that in mind, the ending balance for period 9 would be the beginning balance for the next period. So in other words, whatever we end with in 9, that's the beginning balance. And as you can tell, we're doing a backward proof. And so that's what we're doing there. This ending will be the beginning, but we're using that beginning to tell us what the ending is. Next, we've got our payment that I can just copy down because it's simply the payment amount from up above. It's a fixed amount the whole life of the annuity. Interest rate is simply the F25, which is beginning balance times the interest rate, so that formula is fine. And then we have our beginning balance formula, and that formula works for each of these rows. We copy that down and we have a good row's worth. So I'm going to put my cursor in cell C26, shift and over, so I've highlighted the whole row, and then double click the bottom right hand corner, and that helps me to reconcile. Now in the very bottom here, there is no payment, interest, or beginning balance in the period 0, so I'm going to delete that. Next, this actually does reconcile here. We'll format that to show this comes out to 0, but let's go into the check figure and let's delete that formula there. The check figure. The concept behind this check figure is, if we knew the ending balance for period 10, and we were to just go back to the beginning of the year, so if we took this $1 million and went back to the beginning of the year, well, if we went back to the beginning of the year, we wouldn't have had this payment, so that would be smaller, and if we deducted the interest, it would be smaller. Now, one thing we didn't do here is this interest, I want to show it as a negative, so let me get in here and I'm going to put that in as a negative, and I want to copy that down. Okay, because I want both these payments to show as negatives. Anyway, so big idea, once again, if I had this million and I deducted this and deducted this, I would get to the beginning balance. What that is, what this number here, the beginning balance is, it's the present value of $1 million discounted back to the beginning of the period, assuming a 10% interest rate and assuming a payment of $62,745. That's what that is. It's the present value of $1 million, assuming a $62,745 ordinary annuity payment and interest earned at $85,205. So let's put that formula in. Equals present value. We'll just see if that's true. If we take the present value, this annual interest rate, and we do it just for one period, we're discounting back one period, and we have one payment. In fact, I'll even put the payment amount here. I'll just take this payment amount. It's the same as up there, but we'll just pick it up there. And our interest, the future value, as you can see here, the context, the syntax tells us it's the future value. And our annuity type is a 0. That should come up to be $85,249, but it'll show up as a negative, okay, just because of how we've done our payments. Discounting back is actually showing back as a negative. But then we deduct. Actually, we can just add that. Since the beginning balance is positive, we can add that, and effectively I've proven it out. So I've done a present value, I offset it against the beginning balance, and that for the check figure is 0. And I double click, and that works for all of them. Now that I have the whole range done, I can highlight this, and I'm going to go to Home, and I'll put maybe a comma format on those. So that was our backward proof.